So, first thing first, you should keep in your mind answer writing. As you know, that answer writing is of your mains subjects. Once again, I'm telling you that before you start writing for answer, you should understand your syllabus. Number one. Number two, you should have a basic understanding of the subjects. And how do you get the basic understanding of the subjects? NCRTs best. At least you have some basics. And when you read the NCRTs, try to answer the questions after each chapter. Okay? You say that my NCRT reading is completed only when you are able to answer those end chapter questions. Okay. Now let us come to answer writing. So there are certain parameters based on which the answer writing should be written. Okay. Today I am going to discuss an actual question that was asked in UPSC examination. I'll discuss with you. I will discuss the answers to the particular questions also. You know that you see answer writing is a skill. I have seen many aspirants, they are afraid of writing an answer. And the first question that comes in everybody's mind, sir, where to start the answer? What would be my beginning point? Okay, so that is the most important point, most important confusion also among majority of the aspirants. Sir, where to start the answer? What would be my first statement? And many are not able to figure out what would be the first statement of their answer. Okay, so when there is a question like define something, then it is easy. But when the questions are more, contemporary dynamics, then it becomes a bit of difficult to answer it. Okay, and remember, in civil services examination, you do not get questions which are direct, like define something. You will always get questions which are linked to the contemporary relevance of your static topic of each of your core subjects, like you have governance, securities, IR, economics, geography, history, etc. etc. So, as I told you, that answer writing is a skill. Okay, answer writing is a skill. That means answer writing has to be learned. You have to learn the answer writing. And how do you learn the answer writing? Through practice. Practice and practice. Without practice, no person can develop a good answer writing. See, those who are toppers, they are also beginners like me. Now they are toppers because they have done so much of hard work, they have done so much of practice that they have elevated their level of answer writing from the bottom level to higher level. So you have to start practice of answer writing. And as I told you, answer writing as such, it depends on a lot of factors. Like for example, note making. So note making itself is not answer writing, but note making will help you in answer writing. When you write note, you will come across new words. You will come across how those editorials are written. You can apply those way of writing these editorials some bit of here. So today I'm going to discuss with all of you about how to write an answer and what are the parameters required to write an answer. Okay, I'm sharing my screen. Just follow it. Okay, so the question is, can you see it, all of you? What is the question? So the question is, do you think that the Constitution of India does not accept principle of strict separation of power. Rather, it is based on the principle of checks and balance. Explain. 10 marks. This was asked in UPSC 2019 General Studies 2 paper. What is the question? Do you think that Constitution of India does not accept principle of strict separation of powers? Rather, it is based on the principle of checks and balance. So the first thing, the first requirement before you jump to write an answer is to read and read. Literally, you have to read 2 times minimum. Read the question, then understand demand of the question. Understand demand of the question. Now, let me explain couple of important factors as to how you can fetch some good marks, as to what should be the pattern of answer writing. You see, the evaluator who evaluates your answer, there are certain parameters they check. Okay, so the first thing they check is that how is the structure of your answer. How is the, let me zoom it. Is it visible to all of you? Okay. So the first thing, the parameter is that structure of your answer. That means how you have introduced, what have you written in the introduction, in the body part, in the conclusion, and how are you articulating. Articulation means how you are concluding in terms of throughout. Is, are you trying to maintain the flow of the answer or not? Are you able to articulate your answer or not? This is your structure. This is number one parameter based on which your answer would be evaluated. Okay. So then another one thing is content. Content means what? Demand of the question. Examples. Have you given some examples? Have you written certain reports? Have you mentioned, certain facts, certain figures, or certain, let's say, committee reports, certain acts, certain judgments, articles? This content would depend what is your quality of answer. Okay, that means what would happen when you write an answer, but in the answer there is no quality, and you have already completed, let's say, 1,000 words, then it is of no use. You must write quality of answer. Okay, and what do you mean by quality of answer? It will reflect in your answer writing, especially if you have written the relevant answer according to the demand of the question. You have given certain reference informations, like for example reports, facts, okay, figures. Then you have, let's say for example, acts, relevant acts, okay, then judgments. Then your answer writing would be enriching. This is content. Next part is presentation. That means how are you presenting your answer? Is there a flow of answer or not? For example, you have written introduction something, body part something else, conclusion is something else, and not, no introduction is not connecting with body, body is not connecting with conclusion, so it is of no use. Okay, so the presentation is also important. That means how are you presenting your answer in front of the evaluator? What is the flow of the answer? Okay, how is your handwriting? Of course, handwriting does not mean it should be extremely beautiful. Handwriting should be readable. It should be readable. Somebody should be able to read it at least. If you are having a beautiful handwriting, that's okay, no problem. But if somebody is not having beautiful handwriting, there is no point of, worry also. But at least your handwriting should be readable. Yeah. Neatness. Neatness means what? Let's say you are writing a sentence, and in a sentence, let's say majority times you are just, like the way we do. If you are majority times you are just striking the words, or maybe you are just striking the entire statements. In majority times it is being reflected in your answer. then that is not a good impression. So your answer also should be neat and clean. Next one is language. Use of language. You should always use simple language. Okay, you should always use simple language and clear expression. The expression of your language should be very clear. It should not be confusing. And you should not use any bombardment kind of, like for example, the journalist, the way they use the language, that is not expected out of you. You should use simple language, and the expression should be clear. The expression should not uh, create any kind of confusion. Once again, I'm repeating, your answer writing skill depends on your structure of your answer. That means introduction, body, conclusion, and overall articulation. Then your content, how quality is your content? Have you written according to the demand of the questions or not? Then your presentation of your answer, that means how have you presented your answer? The flow of the answer, have you given certain diagrams or not? Handwriting or not? Is it neat or is it like clumsy? And the language, okay, language means, are you using too complicated language? You should always use simple language, and the expression of your language should be clear. It should not create confusion. Okay, so these are the major important points you should always keep in your mind when you write down an answer. Okay, now so far we have understood that these are the parameters based on which we should really focus on answer writing. Now let us try to answer this question. Okay, let us try to answer this question, especially this 2019 questions. Do you think that the Constitution of India does not accept, okay, does not accept principle of strict separation of power, rather it is based on the principle of checks and balance? Explain. Okay. Now first thing first, what did I tell? The first thing is the structure. That means you should introduce body and conclusion. Let us introduce. How do you write in the introduction? In the introduction, the first thing is required, that first of all it is to understand this question, to understand the demand of the question. Here, the demand of the question is not, it is not asking you to explain what is separation of power. No, I get my point. It is not asking you to explain what is separation of the power. It is asking you that, do you think our constitution is more based on principle of checks and balance? So your answer should be more focusing on how our constitution is more inclined towards checks and balance rather than separation of power. Okay, I hope this is clear. What I'm trying to tell you, that this question is not asking you to explain what is separation of power. Rather, you should more focus on how our constitution is more tilted towards checks and balance rather than separation of power. This is the demand of the question. Okay, so in the introduction, what you should write? In the introduction you should write that how our country, has embraced, how our country has inculcated, okay, how India has inculcated the separation of power. Okay, the separation of power at the same time, but not in absolute norms, not in absolute. You remember, our separation of power is not absolute. That means what? When India introduced this separation of power, we have made certain changes. And what are the changes we have made? Number one change, we have rejected complete separation among the three wings. Complete separation. And second point, we have introduced, India has introduced doctrine of checks and balance. Simple. Isn't it simple? You can draw also one diagram that, you know, the state, there are three wings: legislature, executive, and judiciary. Okay, so now we have introduced it. Now let us come to the body part. In the body part, first you should explain that briefly about the features. Okay, briefly about the features of Indian Constitution, which are features of Indian Constitution related to related to separation of power. Separation of power. Okay. So what are the features related to separation of power? You know that there are certain articles in the constitution which are mentioned, which are specifically talking about separation of the power. First article is Article 50. Article 50 is part of directive principle of state policies, which talks about that the state shall take necessary steps. State shall take necessary steps necessary steps to separate judiciary from executive. Okay, this is one article which is explaining what is separation of power, especially how the separation of power is implemented in true sense, or what are the relevant articles related to separation of power. Next point you can write down another article, that is article 122 and I think 212. Yes, article 122 and article 212. This is talking that the proceedings in the parliament, okay, the proceedings of parliament and legislatures cannot be questioned in court of law. Get my point? So here specifically we are trying to understand that the relevant articles which explains more about the separation of power. First we have understood what is article 50, then we are understanding article 122, 122 and 212. That these articles, they specifically say that proceedings of the parliament and the legislature cannot be questioned in the court of law. Then there are some more articles, article 53 and 154. So they are saying that executive power, this is 53 of state and 150, sorry, 53 is of union, 154 is of state. So the executive power, okay, of of the union and the state shall be, okay, shall be vested with the president and governor. Very clear that article 53 says that the executive power of the union shall be vested on the president, and the article 154 says the executive power of the state shall be vested on the governor, and they enjoy, president and governor, they enjoy immunity. They are immunity from civil and criminal liability. Okay, this is also related to your article 14. In the article 14 of the constitution, article 14 is a fundamental right, right to equality. There is a concept called as equality before the law. Equality before the law. Equality before the law says, in the eyes of law, all are equal. But however, president and governor are exceptions to the equality before the law. Are exceptions to the equality before the law. This is one important thing which you should keep in your mind. Now, next thing, there is also another one important article, that article 361. So article 361 says that when the president, okay, when the president and governor, when they will exercise their duties, they are not answerable to any court, any court. Very important. Okay. So when president and governor, when they are trying to exercise their duties, they are not answerable to any court. So look at all of these articles. When you try to understand all of these articles try to explain that how the executive wing of the government and the judiciary wing of the government are separated from each other. Article 50, Article 122 and 212, Article 53 and 154, and Article 361 of our Constitution explains these important points. Now we have explained this is the first step of your body. Understand? This is the first step of your body. What did I say you? That you should structure your answer. Look at this first thing. We have introduced properly. Our body is also very good. Look at this. We are also trying to put, most of the relevant articles. Okay, this gives more authentication about our answer writing, and also our presentation. Look at the flow. First we have introduced, then we are explaining what is separation of power, especially what are the relevant articles related to the separation of power, which explain that India does have the separation of power. You can also mention that Keshwananda Bharati versus State of Kerala, 1973 case. This explain that in this case, the Supreme Court of India has made a judgment. The separation of power is a part of basic structure. Okay. Now, first part. This is the first part of your body is completed. Now let us move to second part of your body. Now in the second part of your body, you should more focus on what? You should more focus on doctrine of checks and balance. Doctrine of checks and balance. Remember, I told you that the question is more inclined towards doctrine of checks and balance. There you should try to make understanding that though in India we do have the separation of power, however, India's separation of power is not in absolute. We have checks and balance for smooth functioning of the government. Smooth functioning of government. You see that because the three wings of the government, legislature, judiciary, and executive, are dependent on each other partially. Okay, you can see that the reason for the dependency is because that India has parliamentary form of government. Parliamentary form of government, where you have seen okay, where you have seen that the member of parliaments, okay, or the legislatures who are the part of the legislatures, they are also they are also part of executive when they hold position in council of minister. Okay, so you are now trying to explain that how our constitution of India, or how India as a country has more inclined towards the doctrine of checks and balance. Okay, then you are trying to say that the system of the checks and balance is important. Okay, the system of the checks and balance is important, is to check that uh, if in case one wing interferes with the works of another wing. Okay, so the mechanism of checks and balance is important to prevent excess or unauthorized use of power by one wing or one organ of government over another. Okay, so there you see, you are trying to explain these are the important points. Then let's say, for example, there are certain judgments, you can also refer it. The certain judgments, for example, there is a judgment related to, I still recall, um, the judgment is Supreme Court has made a judgment in Haram Jaya case. Okay, in that particular case, the Supreme Court has more, given preferences related to the doctrine of checks and balance by ensuring that the three wings of the government, that is legislature, judiciary, and executive, should work within their boundaries. Okay, so now finally we are slowly going towards the end of our particular answer writing. Then in the end, before you write the conclusion, you mention that our constitution our constitution has clearly divided the powers between each organ of government. Okay. Then how do you write? Finally, you write the conclusion, and in the conclusion, you try to explain that from the above from the above articles and the judgments, we understand from above, okay, articles and judgment, we understand, okay, we understand that our constitution though is standing, okay, though standing on bedrock of separation of power, but has adopted the doctrine of checks and balance, has adopted the doctrine of checks and balance in order to maintain a just and efficient governance structure. Look at how beautifully we are concluding our answer. Once again, I'm repeating where we have started. I have started by giving an introduction that India has incorporated SOP, but not in absolute form. We have rejected the complete separation and we have introduced the doctrine of checks and balance. This is a brief introduction. I am just trying to give it. Then, in the body part, the first part of the body, here I have mentioned the relevant provisions in the constitution which explains more about the separation of power. For example, Article 50, Article 122, 212, Article 53 and 54, okay, then Article 361. So this explains that how our constitution embraces or inculcates more towards the SOP. Then finally, as I told you, that as the question itself is not asking to you to explain what is SOP, rather it is asking how our constitution is more tilted towards the checks and balance comparatively the separation of power. In the second part of the body, here I am explaining about the doctrine of checks and balance, where how the doctrine of checks and balance is inculcated in the constitution. All the points here we have maintained. Okay, and in the conclusion, we are writing that from the above articles and judgments, though our constitution is standing on the bedrock of the SOP, however, we also has inculcated the doctrine of checks and balance in our true spirit in order to maintain, okay, in order to maintain a just and efficient governance structure. See, there is a flow of answer. All of these criteria we have qualified. What are the criteria I have talked about? Introduction, we have done it. Body, we have done it. Conclusion, we have done it. Articulation, we have beautifully articulated our answers. Okay, articulation means if we are opening an answer, we should know how to close the answer also. We should know how to close the answer. So we have started, we have opened our answer from an introduction. We have also closed the answer with the conclusion part. That content means, look what we have written. We have not written what is separation of power. Rather, we have written that how the doctrine of checks and balance is more given emphasis compared to the SOP. Demand of the question. We have given certain examples like all of these article 51, 22, 212 judgments. We have given these things. This gives that yes, our content is quality. Look at the presentation, look at the flow. From the very beginning, if somebody will read this particular answer, now there is a flow of the content. There is no disconnection. There is a flow of the content, content from one paragraph to another paragraph. And look at the language. I am using the language, not bombastic word, simple language and clear expression. It is not confusion expression. So this is all about how you should write an answer. I have just given you with an example. Let me come back to you. Okay. So now, if you have any question to ask, please feel free to ask related to answer writing. Yes. Hmm. Hmm. Okay. How can you understand the demand of question? Okay. So you can understand the demand of question through practice. Agree my point? So for the first time you are looking at a question, you may not be able to write down the answer. But when you practice let's say at least 2 to 3 test series, automatically you will get an idea what is the format of question and what is the demand of question. And as I told you that before you start writing answers, you should have a basic knowledge. See, first of all, in order to write this particular question and its answer, you have to know what is separation of power. You have to know the relevant articles which I have explained, like Article 50, 122, 212, 361. You should know these things. Okay, you should know that what is equality before the law, what is equal protection of law, how governor and the president of India are immune from the civil and criminal proceedings. So two things. How can you answer? You can answer only when you know the answer. Okay, so I have seen aspirants face two major problems. Number one, they are not able to answer. Reason number one, because they do not know the answer. Reason number two, they know the answer but they are not able to write. They are not able to present that answer. So if it is problem number one, you do not know the answer, then there is no other way. You have to know the answer. You have to know what is separation of power. You have to know what is doctrine of checks and balance. You have to know all of the content related to that particular question. Otherwise, how can you answer? You cannot bluff. Okay, if you write down like yes, separation of power is very good, it is important, and doctrine of checks and balance is also important. See, these are bogus. If you write down the answer, automatically you will get very less mark, and in fact zero. So your answer should reflect you in particular as well as the quality, that yes, you have some quality in the answer writing, like the way we have tried to understand all of this important. I have not used any single statement which are generic in form. I'm using article, judgment, okay, how the divisions of the wings of the government, these are extremely important. Okay, and this doesn't happen overnight. Practice, practice and practice. Again, I'm telling you, if there are two problems, first problem is that you do not know the answer, then you have to know it. If the problem is second, you know the answer, you know the topic, but you are not able to present the answer, you are not able to know how to answer, then the solution is practice. Okay, all of you, Did you understand? Just let me know in the chat box if you have understood the at least some basics understanding of answer writing. Just let me know in the chat box. Yes. Well, you can. There is no problem in that. Sometimes many students they write, can you please mute yourself? I got your question. So sometimes many students they write in bullet forms, one, two, three, four. It's okay, no problem. Sometimes they write in paragraph, that is also fine. Sometimes they draw some diagrams, that is also fine. So see, the ultimate conclusion is that you should write down the answer according to the demand of the question. Okay, your content has to exhibit that this is the question and this is the answer. Okay, am I audible to all of you? Okay, so this is what you should always keep in your mind, that if you want to make some heading, sometimes I have seen that, for example, if you want to quote a name, or if you want to quote, let's say, a report, then many students I have seen that they write in capital letter. No problem, you can do that. Okay. Because writing in capital letter, or sometimes I have seen they underline it, because underlining or writing in capital letter means you are trying to highlight that. It's okay, no problem, you can do that. As far as your answer reflects the true content, it is okay. But you do all of the design but your content is not worth it, then I don't think you will get much of mark. Okay, somebody is asking that, sir, is it necessary that for all questions we should give uh, pros and cons? Well, it depends. Okay, it depends. If it is asking about us, mention about the pro and cons, then you give it. Some questions will ask about your opinion. Okay, and like for example, this question it is asking about your opinion. Do you think means your opinion. Some question will simply ask about explain. Some question will simply ask about elaborate. So it would depend on the question. Like for the yeah, true. Got it. No problem. So first of all, there are a couple of things you should always keep in mind, that as a civil servant, it is expected from you that you should be part of the solution. That means in your answer, if you try to complain each and every point, you complain that no, government has done wrong thing, government should have done a better thing, these are very bad. So it reflects that you are already a negative mindset. That is not appreciated. So, first of all, you should keep in mind as a civil servant, your answer should also reflect a balanced approach. What is a balanced approach? You should not be a part of the problem, you should be part of the solution. Okay. Then the next thing, the question which I have just asked, that, sir, if there is no scope to give a balanced option, then can we incline ourselves to pro and cons? Yes, you can, but try to minimize. If it is pro, okay, but if it is cons, if it is negative, so try to minimize your inclination towards the negative. That means it will reflect that you are giving criticisms, but with the criticisms, your word also should reflect that you are giving constructive criticism. It should not be destructive criticism, it should be constructive criticisms. Okay, any other question? Along the question which I got your question in the chat box. I think the same point I have already discussed with from the beginning. You are asking about understanding of the question. I have explained you how to understand the question. You should read the question multiple times, two times, three times, unless and until you understand it. Then how to start? I have already told you that how to start. Unless and until you understand the question, how can you start? You first read the question multiple times, then you try to understand. Is it asking you, like for example, this question? It is not asking you to explain separation of power. Rather, it is asking you the comparison versions. So accordingly, you should tilt your question towards that. Okay. So this will come with practice. It cannot be overnight. This will come with practice. When you practice at least 2 or 3 test series with, let's say, for example, uh, 20 or 30 questions, then automatically it will be developed. Okay, and you show your answer writings to the teacher, you show your answer writing to your fellow members, exchange your answer writings, or most preferably show your answer writing to teachers on regular basis, and they will get back feedback. So you can, any of you, if you wish to continue your answer writing, you please send your answers to the email id contact@red.academy. I will look into your answers and I will give you the feedback accordingly. Yeah. Okay. So I hope you liked today's class and the sessions. It was a bit of long, I understand, but I hope that it is worth it. Thank you, all of you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, all of you. And at any point of time, if you have any confusion, any doubt, please just write an email to me. Email ID is contact@ray.academy. It is also available in the website. Okay. Any doubt, please just write an email to me. I'll be available to answer to your queries. Thank you so much.